Are you tired of spending time creating content for your social media that no one engages with and that does not bring you clients? What if one social media post format could help answer your client questions, help showcase your expertise, and help you sell your products and services without feeling pushy? If you're a small business owner wondering what you can post on your social media that will actually help your business, this training is for you. I'm Juhli Selby with Sandy Social Marketing Training. I'm going to show you how to create engaging carousel posts that educate your audience, build trust, and gently encourage people to work with you. This presentation will focus mainly on Instagram's carousels because they have the best creative features on that platform, but you can take the ideas that we share today because many other platforms have their own version of a carousel post, so you can repurpose the content, the ideas that I share with you today on other social platforms as well. For those who don't know me yet, I have been teaching social media marketing to small business owners for many years. I taught at my local community college on the continuing education department on the topic of social media marketing. I've done lots of speaking and private training. My full-time business is a private training company for clients based in the US and Canada. And my background is in sales and marketing. So I'm always looking at social media and how it can support your business goals, especially how to support your sales. In today's presentation, we're going to cover what is a carousel post and how can it increase your visibility online, how to create a carousel post on Instagram. So I'll take you through a step-by-step tutorial. Where else can you share carousel posts or this content you create as a carousel post? How to design good carousels. I'm going to share lots of carousel ideas and examples. As I mentioned, I'm showing you many screenshots from Instagram, but you can use those ideas on other platforms. And finally, I'll share common carousel mistakes to avoid. So what is a carousel post? It's a multi-photo swipe left post, which can include photos, but it may also include GIFs, the moving photos, or video content. Depends on the channel. It can increase your visibility on social media, help you build the relationship with your audience, and explain what you sell. I like this definition from HubSpot, where they say carousels aren't just a bunch of random pictures stuck together. They're one message told across or told over several slides. Now I want to show you how to create an Instagram carousel step by step. I'm here on the home tab of Instagram, and you can see the plus sign in the top left-hand corner. Let's click the plus sign to create a new post. In the bottom, notice it is just on post. Notice there's other options, story, reel, etc. So make sure you are on post. This is your classic Instagram post. And in order to add more than one piece or more than one slide to make it a carousel post, you want to click on the select function in the middle right. You'll see the little square icons there. By tapping that, it gives you an opportunity to use your finger to tap on more than one piece for your carousel post. So it automatically selected that last piece of media that was showing in my media gallery. So I'm just going to tap on my finger to undo that, deselect that. And you can see I've got a carousel post queued up here. So let's tap the pieces of our carousel post in the order that we want them to appear. So I'm going to tap slide 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, not to worry if you don't get the exact order in this area because you can reorder them in the next step. So let's click on next in the top right hand corner. So from here, you can preview, take a look and see how your carousel post looks. Now, again, I said you can reorder them from here. So if you decide you want to adjust the order of any of your slides, let's go back to the beginning here. So let's say I want to take my finger, gently tap and hold it on the screen and slide it to the right and release. Now you can see I have changed the order of the carousel slide. So remember to place the one in position 1 in the very beginning that you do want to show up on your Instagram profile, because that's the one that will show. So let's change this back. Let's slide back. I'm going to gently tap my finger on the slide and hold the screen as I slide to the left. Oh, it didn't quite take there. Let's try that again and slide and release. Okay, good. Now we have our slide back in the beginning. I'm just having a little look through here, make sure your carousel looks good. And when you're ready, let's click on next in the bottom right-hand corner. Here we can add a caption. You can see in the middle there where it says add caption. I'm going to tap my finger and I'm going to type a caption. So you may type this manually, or if you have something already saved in a notes app on your phone, of course, you can tap and hold with your finger and copy, and then tap and hold here and paste a longer caption in if you like. Notice now just above my current caption that says hello world, it says single caption with a little tiny arrow. So if you tap on that, this is a newer feature, you can potentially do multiple captions now. So if you want to add different captions for different slides in your carousel, you can. So let's slide to carousel number 2. So I'm just going to do a simple, I'm going to type in slide 2. Okay, and then you swipe to the next carousel and you type the caption you want there. I'm just going to type again slide 3. Just keep it simple for now, but you get the idea. You can keep swiping through and you can add separate captions for each slide in your carousel if you wish, or if you prefer, if you just want to have one caption for the entire post, I can switch it back to single caption, and you can see it did remember what I typed here. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete those other captions here and go back to my hello world. Okay, so once you're finished writing your caption, we'll click OK in the top right hand corner. From here, there's more functions. You can add music, you can add your location, etc. So I'm going to show you a couple more of these features, but first I just want to show you the blue button at the bottom is share. So let's click share to go ahead and share this carousel post. And I also want to show you how to delete it in case you want to play around with it, do some test carousel posts to get comfortable. And voila, here is our carousel post on Instagram. You can see it swipes left beautifully. You can see below there is our hello world caption. So you can see again, I chose to have one single caption for the entire post. If our caption was longer, it would take the first bit of the caption and then there would be kind of a ... see more. So people would potentially have to tap their finger on that to be able to see the full caption. But you can see it really is a beautiful format. So with that said, let's show you how to delete it if you want to play around. In the top right hand corner of the post, there's some little lines there. We're going to tap on that to open some more functions here, and you'll see at the very bottom is the delete function. So let's tap delete and delete. And voila, that has now deleted that carousel post. So let's go back up to the top. I'm going to show you that again with a couple of more features for those that are more intermediate. We're still on the home tab. Let's tap that plus sign in the top left-hand corner. And again, be sure to click select in the middle right-hand side to be able to select more than one piece of media. And I'm going to tap my finger here on this little guy, deselect. Now, I did create a few slides with some movement to make it fancier. So you have to actually, when you're exporting these from your graphic design program, I use Canva, you do have to export these slides as a video file. So Instagram is the one place that you can mix photos and videos if you want to get fancy. I'm going to go back to this carousel post here, and I'm going to say, let's tap slide number 1. Now I created a video file for slide number 2 with some movement. So I'm going to go up and tap slide number 2 here. Then I'm going to tap 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I did add a little movement to that last slide, 7. So now we're getting fancy. Okay, I'm going to click next in the top right hand corner. So now when I swipe and preview my carousel, you can see I have added some movement to this second slide. So again, that makes it more engaging when you add some movement to catch the eye. You could potentially add movement on that first slide. Again, the importance of that first slide and catching people's attention. More important is the topic though, if they're interested in the topic you're going to share about or not. So as we slide, we can see I've put a video in the mix here, again, unique to Instagram. And then these middle slides here were essentially just image slides. And then the very last slide here, I added some movement to just make it a little jazzier, add some interest, okay? So again, if you do want to mix photos and videos like this, you will have to have the items on your phone ready to go, the image and the video slides ready to go on your phone to be able to upload into the carousel post. The next fancy thing I want to show you is how to add music to your carousel posts. So let's tap on audio in the bottom left-hand corner. This brings up the music options. So you can see it's suggesting some music that it thinks I might like. So you can scroll through the songs here. You can, if you gently tap your finger on any of the songs, I'm going to hit pause in the bottom right here. So in the very bottom right, you can see the song that I tapped on. It will show at the bottom, and there is a play and pause function. Okay, so you could kind of surf around and listen to different songs here before you decide which one you want to use. Once you decide which song you want to use, notice the little arrow in the bottom right. You would then click on that. So I just want to show you some of the other tabs here. You can see there is just to the up at the top here, just beside For You, there's trending. You can scroll over here. Notice it's a little bit hidden. Notice I just slid to the left and there's the save function. So if you've been surfing around previously and you have saved some songs that you might like to use for future, you can see that there's some various songs in here. So again, you might want to tap, listen, pause. So again, you can pause and play any of the songs. And once you have a song you want to use, now I'm going to tap the arrow in the bottom right-hand corner. And now I have selected that song. So in the bottom left is where the song lives. I'm going to tap that up to show you tap that to open it up and show you a few more options. I'm going to tap. I'm going to hit pause there. Again, notice there's a play pause function in the bottom right-hand corner. You can select how much of a piece of a song you want to use. So where it says 90 in the bottom left, you can tap your finger on that. And if you have a short carousel, like maybe 6 slides, you might not need a song that's 90 seconds long. You might want a song, might want to use 30 seconds of a song. Or if you're really wanting to use a specific piece of a song and you just want to have that repeat, no matter how long someone's looking at your slides, you can do that. So again, I've selected 30 seconds here. I'm just using my finger to slide up and down, and then I'm going to click done. Okay, so you can see it changed to 30 now. So this is only going to use 30 seconds of this particular song. Notice along the timeline on the song, there's some sort of pink dots. The pink dots will show you some of the more popular parts of the song. So you can tap your finger on any of the pink dots and you can tap the play function on the right, and you can listen and see if you like that part of the song, or you can simply place your finger on the very bottom on the timeline of the song, and you can slide it to any point in the song. So again, if you're trying to catch a certain lyric or you want a specific part of the song, you can slide your finger and really kind of catch any part of the song you like. You've got that play pause button in the bottom right to play. Make sure you're getting the right spot. I'm picky. I usually even like listen to the full 30 seconds just to make sure there's no, inappropriate lyrics in a song I've selected. Next, I'm going to click done on the right-hand side. And then again, in the bottom right, let's click next. And here we have our add caption. So I'm going to tap my finger there. I'm going to type again, hello world. And click OK in the top right-hand corner. So now we have our carousel post. And if you give it a little pause there, you can see it does show the slides with movement. Another little preview in this area just to make sure our slides are in the right order and everything looks the way it should. Let's see here. That one's taking a little second to load the animations, but theoretically it should work well. And now we are ready to click share in the bottom. And voila, here is our carousel post. You can see in the bottom right here that I have muted the music. But again, I always like to do a little check of my carousel post. I just swipe through, make sure everything looks good on my post, everything's in the correct order. And there we go. Now it's showing the animation, and then you can see your caption, your text caption below the post. I'm going to show you a variety of examples of carousel posts. Here's an example from a travel company. They did a nice job with repurposing past content for this post. They took photos of the 2 company founders from several past trips and made a behind-the-scenes post, and they called it Your Favorite Travel Duo on the Road. You can add music to a carousel post on Instagram. You can see here, on this post, they used the Daft Punk song Around the World for this carousel post to make it more engaging. So Instagram's one of the few places where you can add music to your carousel post. This example is from a yoga teacher. She started with a simple quote graphic on the first image, wishing people a happy new year. It was a lovely new year greeting. She could have maybe made the text a little bit larger here, but then the other slides simply show some nice photos of some plants. And then you can see in the bottom here is where you can add more detail or context in the written caption, the text caption. So her caption supports the photos with some nice well wishes for the new year. So the slide you put first will be the one that shows on your Instagram grid or your profile gallery on your Instagram account. And you can change this now. So even if you change your mind after you do the post on Instagram, you can actually change the order of the slides. So when I talk about slides or pages in a carousel post, this might be slide 1, slide 2, slide 3, slide 4, that kind of thing. So you can now switch around the order after you post, which is a nice update. So Instagram's got great creative tools and they're constantly making helpful updates to this carousel post format. Why does this post format matter? Because we all want more visibility on social media. So carousel posts can help increase your visibility. It's a good way to present information visually in a visual format, so easier for people to consume, more engaging. It increases the time spent on your post, also known as dwell time or watch time. And as a consumer, I really like that. I really like that I can swipe at my own pace. The user is in control. If I want to use two fingers to zoom in on any slide to look closer at a photo, I can do that. Or if the text is small and I want to zoom in a little bit so I can make it easier to read. So as the audience or the viewer, you have quite a bit of control about this format to look closely at things, which I think is one of the reasons it makes a great educational and also selling type of post. On this post type, we have the potential to increase engagement, likes, shares, and saves. And that increased engagement, therefore, potentially gives us more reach in the algorithm. Some channels also favor carousels. So, for example, Instagram actually gives a second chance for your post to be delivered. So you may or may not have noticed, but now pay attention to it when you're looking at your Instagram feed. If someone shares more than one picture in their post, you will potentially be served slide number 1 from the carousel as you're scrolling your feed. So this would be content from people that you follow. And then if you don't engage with it, Instagram will serve it a second time. So they'll serve you slide number 2, kind of like the only place on social media where you actually get 2 chances for your post to be seen in the feed of your followers. So you don't get extra chances if you put more photos. You still only get 2 chances no matter how many slides you put in your carousel, but it's pretty cool. So that's a potential opportunity for visibility. And I should mention, try different post types and see what works in your analytics. You can still certainly try posting a single image post on Instagram. Check your analytics, see what's working right now, because things always change. Also, another interesting point, when you add music to an Instagram carousel post, pretty cool, you can add music to make it more engaging. You have a chance that that post can get served in the vertical swipe up Reels feed. So you can potentially get more free visibility that way. You can check your analytics. So on the left-hand side here, you can see it actually shows the followers versus non-followers that discovered this particular carousel post. So you'll be able to see in your analytics on Instagram. With that said, YouTube is now the next channel that has copied this feature on Instagram. On YouTube, on mobile, you can now create a carousel post and you can add music to it, and you will have a chance that it will show up in the YouTube Shorts feed, that vertical swipe up Shorts feed. So they've flat out copied that from Instagram. And this is on mobile only, not desktop. I should mention also that on YouTube, you can only post up to 10 images and you can use GIFs, but not video. So each platform, the specifications are a little bit different. So if you don't see this on your mobile YouTube app yet, I'm based in Canada and I'm seeing it. Do update your app and you might see that feature there. If you don't see it yet, it will be potentially rolling out over time. So hopefully you'll see that feature in the future. This carousel format is great for teaching content, which helps us help serve the audience and also build trust and authority. Helps us tell stories or share an experience. Again, think one story across or one experience across many slides. Helps build trust and connection. Can help entertain as well. It also is really good for selling content. So if you're wondering why you're not getting any sales from social media, Are you talking about what you sell enough, or at all for that matter? Selling content can help explain who you help, how you help, and how to join your email list, how to work with you, show what you sell, and so much more. So you can, if you're not already creating content about your products and or services, you should be doing that on a regular basis. Where can you share carousel posts? Everywhere. Even if there is not a proper carousel post format, you can share your content as a multi-photo post. So say you have a carousel post on Instagram that's 12 photos. If you want to share that same content on Facebook, you would just share it on Facebook as a multi-photo post. So you can repurpose that content in many ways. So as I mentioned, different channels have different specifications. Another example, Substack is a place that has a carousel post, but they only allow 6 photos and no GIFs and no videos, only photos. So again, depending on which channels you use, and I do recommend that you narrow it down. Less channels is better. Do less channels and go deeper on those channels. So if you're a small business owner, you should not be doing more than 2 or 3 channels unless you have a lot of time to dedicate to marketing, right? If you want to do those channels well. So on the left-hand side of this slide, you can see that the 4:5 ratio or a portrait style works best for many of the social channels. So whether it be Instagram, whether it be Threads, LinkedIn, TikTok, Substack, these all the 4:5 ratio, or again, also known as portrait. And if you're looking at pixels, it would be 1080 by 1080 wide by 1350 pixels tall. That's a really good multi-purpose size for creating your carousel posts. There's always exceptions, and some exceptions are YouTube. Did you know YouTube? You can actually create posts on YouTube. Of course, YouTube's video first, but you can create posts now on a YouTube channel. And as well, if you have a Google Map listing or Google Business profile, you can actually do posts on a Google Business profile as well. So on the right-hand side of the slide, I just made a note here that a square works better for those particular formats because it does crop it to a square in those places. So just a consideration. And as I mentioned on Facebook, they do not have a proper carousel post, but you can do a post with a bunch of photos. So any photos you create for a carousel post, say on other platforms, you could repurpose on Facebook just as a post with a bunch of photos, and that works just fine too. Here's a fun example from the YouTube creator account on Instagram. This first slide shows some tiny videos of people. So they did some interviews with people and asked a question. So the question was, what did you want to be when you grew up? And then you can see in each subsequent slide in this carousel post, they have these creators say the answer. So kind of a fun way to do the carousel post here. Here's an example of what Facebook carousel posts look like. So over on the left-hand side here, this is showing an example of what it looks like. It looks a little bit different, just kind of shows a grouping of photos. But then when you tap on that first photo, notice it's a vertical swipe up instead of the side to side swipe. So it does appear. Now, if someone did actually one more tap, so if someone opened the post and did a tap with their finger and then tapped again one more time, and then now it's showing it there in the video, it will theoretically swipe to the left. However, most people wouldn't know on mobile to do that extra tap. So I would say many people, when they tap on this multi-photo view here, they probably are just viewing your carousel post in this vertical format. Again, they still have control of it. They can tap on the photo. They can zoom in if they want to look closer at something. So it's nice, but they may not realize that you have to do that extra tap for that swipe left. So really, truly, there is no proper carousel post. But this is an example from my client. This is my Ecuador travel client. They own a couple of yachts and a lovely lodge in Galapagos Islands in Ecuador. And so for this post, I have used this over again because I wanted to show you how the same post looked a little bit different on each of the platforms. So we're going to view this post. You can see it looks a little bit similar to Facebook with the grouping of photos. But then when all they have to do is tap on it one time, and notice the video showed it went right into this swipe left format. So it works quite nice, works beautifully on LinkedIn, this sort of carousel post format. So again, it's not a proper carousel post format per se in this view, but all they have to do is tap on that first photo in that grouping of photos in the post. So you can do up to 20 photos for a LinkedIn post, and you can even do GIFs. So the moving images on a post, but no video. So you can't put video on this particular post style. So I'm going to just go to this next slide here. There are actually, not to make it complicated, but there are actually two options for creating carousel posts on LinkedIn. There is the multi-photo post that I just mentioned to you, similar to Facebook, yet it goes immediately into that nice swipe left format. And there is also another post type called the document post type, which is essentially a PDF, and that allows you to do many more slides. You actually can have up to 300 pages on that format type, but nobody ever would use that many. But it's image only. Okay, so and it operates a little bit different. So I'm going to just slide to the next one here. The two on the left here are the multi-photo post, and you'll see as the video opens here, the two on the left you can see are swiping to the left once the viewer taps on it and opens it. But the two on the right-hand side of this slide here are the document style. So it's more, it looks a little bit more like a proper carousel post format. They just operate very differently. And again, they will be static images only in the PDF that you upload. So if you're creating your carousels in, Canva, for example, you would just export the file as a PDF instead of image files if you did want to try this LinkedIn document style post. And same advice I gave earlier about trying different post types and seeing what works in your analytics. I would try both the multi-photo post type as well as the document post type and see which works best for you in your analytics on LinkedIn. Here is an example of that same post on YouTube. So you can see here in the first one on the left, the first mobile view on the left, it's showing you it is really a proper carousel post where it just swipes left, but you can only use, again, 10 images max here. So let's talk about how to design good carousels. So in general, you want a beginning, middle, and an end. Though there's always exceptions, there are some simple 2-slide carousel posts that work just fine, and I will show you some examples. But in general, you want to start with an opening slide that has a clear title or a clear hook. Be clear on the topic so that people can decide if your post is of interest to them or not. So the first slide is the most important because people, by looking at that first slide, they're either going to swipe away or they're going to engage with your post and dive into what you're offering. Your middle slides will provide the value. Your original media is nice to have, but you can use some stock photos or stock video here if needed. On a regular basis, I go out a few times a year with a girlfriend and we take photos of ourselves playing around, lots of shots of us looking at the camera. But it is nice to have your own media. You don't have to be in every photo either. It's just nice to have your own library of your own original images. And then the final slide for your carousel post, you want to have a final slide that has a call to action or CTA. So some examples of call to action: follow for more, DM me, direct message me, private message me, or comment a specific keyword, for example. Lots of people will use that on Instagram. Save this for later. Book a discovery call, link in bio. Send me an email. So lots of calls to action that you can use for your last slide. And I should mention just a little design tip. It usually looks quite nice if all the slides are the same size, but that is not necessarily required for many channels. You can potentially, for many channels, use whatever size images you want in your carousel post. So here's an excellent example of a good carousel post from a personal trainer. So you can see in her opening slide here, 6 high-protein snacks for busy women. So she's got a clear topic on her opening slide. So if you're not a busy woman, you might not dive into that slide, but guess what? That's who she serves in her personal training business. So she's creating content that will specifically catch the interest of people who could potentially be her clients who have interest in health and nutrition. So then she gives value in the middle slides. You can see I haven't included all the slides here, but number 1, turkey roll-up, number 4, edamame and sea salt. So she's giving examples And then she closes the carousel post with a nice call to action slide that says DM me or direct message me, of course, private message. DM me to get a copy of my recipe book, which is an invitation to join her email list. And I'm going to give her bonus points as she uses a photo of herself looking directly at the camera on the last slide. So that's always looks nice. And again, you can't have enough photos of yourself looking at the camera. So it might feel awkward when you go out for your photo shoot with a friend to get so many pictures of yourself looking at the camera. But when you go to do your marketing later for months, you'll have photos that you can use anytime you want to say something to the audience and just use an image to do it and not necessarily have to get on a video when you're not in the mood to create a video. As I mentioned, I use Canva to create carousels, but you can use any graphic design program you like. And just a little recap there of the sizing I mentioned, the portrait size or the 4:5 ratio, also known as a 1080 by 1350 pixel size. And a little design tip, depending on which channels you're planning to use. If, for example, you decide to, like me, focus on, say, Instagram and YouTube. Instagram, as I mentioned, has this full portrait size specification, but YouTube is better off for a square. So you might consider that when you're designing your graphics to try and keep any text overlay or any people's faces within that square in the center of your graphic, because YouTube will cut off kind of the top and bottom of your graphics if you decide to just share the exact same content in both places. So that can save you time there. I like to think of carousel post with two different purposes, non-selling and selling. So I'm going to give you a whole bunch of examples here so you have lots of ideas to take with you. So some carousel ideas that are non-selling: educational, teaching, explaining, so how to or step-by-step guides or step-by-step process. Frequently asked questions. I have so many frequently asked questions. I do my best every time I do a new video to go review my library of questions clients have asked me. Common mistakes and how to fix them, or myths and why they're not true. Help your audience fix a problem they have, and that will help to build trust and build the relationship with your audience. Also, relatable or emotional content, so you can share things like what I wish I knew, challenges and how you overcame them, or struggles, how you overcame them, and client themes or mindset shifts. So, especially if you're in a business like you are, say, a counselor, and you have confidential, or even a business coach, and you've got confidentiality with your clients, and you can't exactly share your stories, you could share themes. So you could say a recurring theme that I'm seeing with my clients is imposter syndrome, or perfectionism is holding them back from creating content because their videos don't look good the way they would hope and imagine they might look good, so they never want to post them, right? So recurring themes that you're seeing with your audience could be something you share. Talking about the audience's challenges and pains shows them that you understand them, because they're not going to hire you unless they know that you understand what they're going through and what they struggle with. And then they might think you could be the person that could help them with that if you understand their problems. Here's an example of a carousel post I did. This post came from a pain that my client had. He said, "How do I skip the junk when I open Instagram?" He was tired of all this suggested content that was showing up in his feed. So I told him the answer. So that was a tip that my client had a problem with, and it was well received. And I had other people say, "Thank you very much for showing that. I didn't know that feature existed." Once you create, so this is a template that I created here. So once you create your own template in your graphic design program, so I've created a template for this in my Canva account, you can make a copy of your template design, and then you can simply change out the text and images to create a new carousel. So you could create one or more templates in your graphic design account to save time. The other thing that you can do is create a recurring series. This can also save you time because you don't have to think so much about what should this new post be. So if you can come up with a couple of recurring formats for your carousels, it makes it easier to consistently create content. And I will show you some specific examples of some recurring themes that others have used. But just to give you a quick idea, behind the scenes of the month, what were you up to this month? Adventures of an author or healer or artist or coach. like a business photo dump with context, right? You can repeat images you've already shared. Say you were sharing images in your 24-hour stories through that month. Some of those images could get repeated and put into your carousel post. You can put a client question of the week. You could do a featured audience comment of the month, etc. So many different ideas you could use for creating a recurring series. You can also use your AI chat tools to try and potentially come up with some ideas for recurring content series in your carousel posts. Here's a gal that shares personal finance tips. She calls herself a de-influencer, as in, I want to de-influence you from don't buy things. So she talks about spending money thoughtfully and not just spending money because you're bored. She says things like, you don't need new Christmas decorations. You probably have lots of Christmas decorations in your garage. You're just bored. So she has a couple of recurring carousel styles I wanted to share. One style she does is her monthly low buy challenge here. So one of the tips on her low buy challenge for July was wait 24 hours before buying anything. Cook meals at home. And then she does a little summary on the last slide that shows, all is the checklist of all the things you can do for July to save money. Here's another style that she does. And this is things I bought from my wish list that made my life better this month. So she doesn't say like never spend money. She just wants you to be thoughtful about it and really spend on the things that will make your life better. So things I bought from my wish list to make my life better. She talks about date night with her husband. She talks about finally buying a new swimsuit and how much she's enjoying her new swimsuit with quality time with people she cares about, etc. And then she has a closing slide at the end. Here's a good frequently asked question example from a realtor where she answers a common client question, which is, how long does it actually take to buy a home in Victoria, BC? This is a nice example of a teaching carousel. And she goes into some detail about how long it actually takes and what are the criteria around why it takes that length of time. I think in the end, she says it takes about 3 months, potentially 3 months or longer to buy a home in Victoria, but she outlines why that is. And then she closes her carousel slide at the end with a nice work with me slide. So a teaching one, but she does also invite people to potentially reach out to her as well. Here's a great one from a travel influencer. She's teaching her audience about a unique town in Japan that she traveled to. So she has a nice opening slide. Here's her topic. Is this Japan's scariest town? And then, welcome to the name of the town. And she shares a bunch of pictures of all these unique characters that are around this town in Japan. And then she ends with a simple call to action. Which one was your favorite? As in, which photo was your favorite? So again, a fun way to take people along and share her travel adventures while also creating interest in this destination. Because if Japan was on your travel wish list, you might be like, maybe we want to go check out Japan's scariest town if we're going to be anywhere near there on our trip to Japan. Here's an example of a cosmetics company that uses carousel posts to share their values. So she says things like, we miss real teeth. We miss when beauty was just about joy. We miss eyeliner makeup for everyone. We miss seeing people of all shapes and sizes. And the very end carousel is a nice picture of the founder. So just a lovely way to build trust with your audience, because if your values align with their values, again, they're more likely to potentially choose to work with you if and when they need what you sell or what you offer. Here's a nice example from a marketer. She has used a single image of her feet. She is wearing a color of shoe that matches with her brand, or who knows, maybe potentially she even changed that shoe color with AI. But you can see she's used the same image in all of her slides in this carousel post. But what I thought was fun was she gently blurred the image in the background for the middle posts. And again, she's got a nice call to action at the end. So the carousel post is about, post your drafts. So many of us second guess ourselves with our content. But the last slide is her call to action is, this is your sign to post your drafts. Like, just do it. Just post your content. Here's a nice example. This gal is a life coach for moms, and she's just started a podcast. So this is a fun way she is promoting one of her podcast episodes. She has pulled a few quotes from this podcast episode, and she's turned them into quote graphics. And she had a few of these. So again, people can swipe through, read a little bit about what this particular podcast episode was about. And then in the end, she has a nice call to action, tune in on, and she lets people know where they can find the podcast if they want to listen to her. Here's another example. This gal is a well-known author, and this is kind of a fun style as well. If you have a video podcast, or if you are a guest on a video podcast, they have just simply taken some screenshots from the video podcast and overlaid some text from the interview on each of the slides. So the pictures do look very similar, but essentially you're reading the text. It's a little excerpt from the podcast interview. So I think that's a clever way as well to repurpose your content and create interest on Instagram. A few fun design tips here. If you have a photo that's horizontal, that doesn't necessarily suit that portrait, that more vertical style portrait image, you can split it up into two pieces. So here is a fun carousel here from, this is a travel influencer family. They have spread this photo across two slides in their carousel post. And this was another fun one from that same family, a faraway shot and then a close-up shot. So I thought any business could use that idea. I thought that was kind of a fun design tip. Many photographers use this sort of design crop on Instagram. So this one shows an Ecuador nature photographer, and you can see how he's used a couple of different angles of this nature landscape. He splits one image into two slides here, and then he does another slide where he actually shows the entire image. So you can see again here that this image is not portrait size. This is not your tall image. However, you can, as I mentioned, share any size of image. It will just potentially show kind of some blank space on the top and the bottom. But for a photographer, it's still a really nice way to show the whole image in one, even though he's also shown it here split. Here's a carousel post that I created for my Ecuador Galapagos travel client. So another design tip, if you have a lot of horizontal images, so that's the case for this post, I had these lovely images from a professional photographer who traveled on one of my clients' yachts. And I did not want to crop his work. I always am very careful. I want to respect the work of professional photographers. So what I did in this case was I just stacked the images, as you can see, and I put two images in each slide. Some of the slides in the carousel were full images, but for the ones that I had these horizontal photos, I just fixed the problem by stacking two images in one slide. And that way I'm still respecting the photographer. Let's dive into some selling or promotional carousel post ideas. So we do want to support our sales. We want to let people know about what we sell. And if we don't do that, and if we don't invite them to work with us, that might be why you're not getting sales from your social media. So here are a bunch of ideas for selling carousel posts. So about you, tell people about yourself, your story as it relates to what you sell now. Do a welcome post for your social media. So that's one thing that many business owners are missing on their social media, is a post pinned up to the top of their social media channels that says who they are, who they help, what they offer. So on Instagram, for example, you can create actually 3 pinned or bookmarked posts up to the top. And you simply, once you create the post, you can tap on the little dots to the right-hand corner of the post, and you'll see the option to pin a post up to the top. So you can pin up to 3 posts to the top. So you could, on Instagram, for example, have one that talks about who you are, who you help, and why. You could have a post about services. You could have a post about products you sell or courses. On some other channels like Facebook, for example, you only can have, on a Facebook personal profile, you can only have 1 pinned post to the top. On a Facebook business page, you can have a couple of posts pinned up to the top, but potentially the first one shows more prominently. So again, just depending on what channels you're using, that may affect how you design your carousel post, what content you include in your carousel post. But it's really nice for people who come check you out, discover you for the first time, especially if they've been drawn in by a particular piece of content, whether it's a reel, a video, a short, or a post. The first thing they'll do is come look at your profile. And if they can't figure out who you are or what you do quickly, they might just abandon ship and not hit that follow button. So we want that chance that they'll follow you if they're a fit for you, if they're a fit for, who you're looking to connect with. And so having that welcome or about you post pinned up to the top is very useful. You can explain again who you help, how you help, or what change or what transformation you help people make. People want to get from A to B. My clients are struggling with social media. They want to post consistently, but they're just struggling to do that, to get to that place where they're posting consistently on their social media channels, because you need to post consistently to even get to that place where you can look at your analytics and get some insight into what people are enjoying and potentially do more of what's working so you can grow your account. But many people are stuck over here in that place where they're not even getting to that posting consistently. So talk about the transformation you want to help people make, getting from A till B to B. You can again explain a specific service or offer or course or digital product. You can show your products. You can do a frequently asked question or FAQ about what's working, or pardon me, FAQ about working with you, how to work with you, or what it looks like after they hire you. What's that process? Or address common objections that people have. You're too expensive, or, whatever those objections may be, you can address those in a carousel post. You can also share client stories or testimonials. You could tell one individual client story across several carousel pages in one carousel post. Or if you want to do more of a compilation, you could have maybe quotes, testimonials, one client per slide. And you could even create a carousel post with that compilation testimonials for a specific service or for a specific course or digital product, etc. Also, before and afters are great too. If you're in any kind of business where, design, photography, anything where you can show a visual of a before and after, that always is great too. So let's dive into showing you a bunch of examples. So just a simple show what you sell. Here's a very simple example from a secondhand consignment clothing store. No text overlay, just literally showing what they have in stock for sale. So they're showing different views of this lovely outfit. And then at the end, they show a little movement to show the audience what the dress looks like. Here's an example from an artist, a perfect example of some 2 carousel slide posts. So on the left-hand side here, this carousel on the left simply shows the painting itself and then shows what her painting would look like on a wall. And then on the right-hand side, this is a separate carousel post. She does lovely abstract paintings as well. So in this case, she shows, and again with a little bit of text overlay, that her painting can work very well in the horizontal format or in the vertical format. So perfect examples of great 2-slide carousels. Here's a very simple example from a personal chef. So this gal, people hire this gal. She gets all their meal requirements, all the dietary requirements. She goes shopping for the ingredients, the groceries, and then she goes over to their home. She cooks, prepares all the foods, and then she puts them in the person's fridge. So they've got food for, I'm not sure how long, a week or 2 forward. So you can see there's not even any text overlay on these images, but she adds more context in her text caption of the post below, but you get the gist of it. She's a personal chef, and you can see she shows the raw ingredients, cooked ingredients, the beautiful meals, and then what your fridge is going to look like after she is done her task for you. So would appeal to any busy people that want to have great healthy meals cooked for them. Here's an example. Here's some more examples of some good 2-slide carousel posts from an interior designer. The first one on the left is showing a simple before and after remodel of a bathroom. If it was me, I would have put the after first in the first slide so that that pretty designed bathroom shows on my grid, on my Instagram profile. And then here's a second one on the right-hand side. You can see she's used a nature image for the first slide, and then the second one just shows a visual of a room that was designed with that nature image as the inspiration for that slide. So some nice examples of some simple 2-slide carousel posts. Here's an example from a dance teacher promoting a workshop. Notice she's using the same photo of herself in each slide, and she has just changed out the text on this post. So we do want to have a reasonable amount of text on each slide. We don't have too much text, and you want to make the text big enough that it's, a large enough font that people can actually read, especially for those, those of us over 40 who prefer a larger font. Here's an example from a bookkeeper who specializes in helping service businesses. Notice she has used the same photo of herself as well. So she puts unpopular things that I tell my service provider clients. So again, if you are a service provider, that might catch your attention. And she gives a little sort of tip, thing that she tells her clients. And then in the last slide, she says, DM me, private message me, or direct message me if you are looking for a bookkeeper for your service-based business. This is a great example from a business coach. It's a heart-centered business coach. She opens with a very specific challenge that her ideal clients struggle with. So she says, do you struggle to ask for payment from your clients or customers? So she is using a challenge that her clients have and uses these middle slides to explain why it's a challenge for them, showing that she understands them. This can happen for many reasons. Here's why this might be happening to you. And then, of course, I'm not sharing all the slides in this example. By the way, I have not mentioned, if you want to go check out the social media posts of any of these Instagram accounts on all of the slides that are Instagram examples, I have an Instagram logo and I have the username so you'll see it here in the screenshots. You can see the username of the person I'm sharing the example from, but I have it also up here. Here's the username. So if you want to search any of these usernames from these examples on Instagram, you'll be able to go look closely at more of their content. This gal does a great job with her social media content. So in this last slide here, I really like that she used a picture of herself, bonus points there, picture of her looking at the camera. And as well, I really like she's got this sort of faux button in her graphic that has a nice contrasting color that says send me a DM or the link is in my bio. So she's giving you direction on how to move forward or how to take the next step if you're interested in working with her. This is another example from this same business coach that was very different. And she's talking about I really like this example. So I'm going to show you all the slides from this carousel post. So she says 3 roots of a grounded business. Notice she's using a nice tree image as the background image for this carousel. So she keeps it simple. Same graphic for all the slides on this carousel. So I don't know if this was one of her original photos or if she used a stock photo here, but she's got a nice title here. So if you were a business owner and you are interested in this topic, this may catch your attention. So she goes on to talk about what are those roots of the grounded business, yourself, good relationship with time, good relationship with money. If you're struggling with any of these things, here are 2 ways to get here. And she outlines that she does both group coaching as well as one-on-one private coaching. And she's got a nice slide in the end that says, to learn more, click the link in my bio. Of course, I would say I would love to see an image of her here on this last slide, but nicely done. Here's an example of a yoga teacher promoting her yoga and knitting retreat. So again, I'm not showing you all the slides from this carousel, but if you want to check her out, you can go to her profile. But she uses a carousel or a collage as the first image with some little text overlay here. And then she is essentially just simple basic text overlay here, but she's showing images of what to expect on the retreat, so that if you are considering going, you will have a sense of what this retreat's like. And of course, she's going to have more detail here in her text caption below. Here's another example from a realtor. 6 ways I can help, and then in brackets that you might not realize. So a nice way to describe more about the service she offers. So if you choose to work with her, I'll help recommend a professional fill in the blank. I'll give you feedback on upgrades for your home that, which ones matter and which ones won't help move the needle, getting you a better price when you sell. So she has 6 tips. I'm only showing a couple of the slides here, but she's got a nice opening here. She's got the value in between, and then she has a slide. Again, notice she repeats that same image. So she's using the same image on the opening slide and the closing slide. So that's another nice way to do it as well. And she says, send me a DM with your questions. Here's a nice example from a marketer. She's promoting her brand Clarity Lab group coaching program. So she has a nice eye-catching graphic as her opening slides. You're not starting over, you're starting with experience. So she's potentially targeting people kind of in that, I'm sure, 40 plus range for her group. She talks about the frustration we feel. She mentions the truth. You're not starting over. You do have experience. And then she says the solution here, ready to join my brand Clarity Lab, link in bio. So she's got a call to action and then a nice picture of her smiling, staring at the camera as well. This is an excellent example from a professional photographer, and it's a great example of a frequently asked questions post for a specific service. So this photographer offers a service, a brand photo photography service that she calls a mini session. So she covers in detail here. Her opening slide is mini session frequent, FAQs, frequently asked questions. So this is something she offers over and over again, these mini sessions. So she talks about what to expect, where will it take place. She mentioned she rents a couple of different Airbnbs, so there's 2 different locations that someone will get if they book a shoot. And then and the last slide, the call to action, how do I book? And she gives directions, go to the website, book your time, and you'll be ready to go, right? We'll give you any further details from there. So she's very clear on this specific service about how to move forward to work with her. And for those who are authors, I have a couple examples again from this well-known author. These are simple examples that any author could use. So she is simply taking a photo of the first chapter, the first page in the first chapter of her book. She has a picture of her book, and then she has another slide that says, now available. The book is now available. Okay. This next one here, again, same idea. She's taking a picture of the book, a page in the book, and then she's got a faux graphic that was created that looks like a billboard, but clearly that was created in a graphic design program. This is your sign to start. This is your sign to buy my book. And then a picture of the author holding her book. Can't have enough pictures of yourself again, especially if you're wanting to launch or promote a new book. You do need pictures of yourself holding the book. This example shows a healthy cooking coach who is promoting her quirky cooking health reset program. So she says, here are some things you're going to learn in my program. And then she goes on with each slide to talk about, and again, I haven't shared all the slides for this, so you can always go check out someone's profile if you want to take a closer look. But in each of the carousel slides, she talks about something specific that you're going to learn in her program. And then at the end, she does have a call to action to learn more about the program. This is another fun idea from this same coach that I just mentioned, the healthy cooking coach. It looks like she took a photo of herself holding a card with a nice saying on it, but then she used that photo to add some additional graphics to it. So you can see the background photo in this carousel is the same for all the slides, but she's added some additional graphics. So this might be fun when you're thinking about doing your own photo shoot or taking your own photos, that a photo like this could then be enhanced in your graphic design program to turn it into a carousel slide. This is a fun idea as well. This gal is a yoga leader, yoga teacher, and she leads retreats, yoga retreats and wellness retreats all over the world. And she has added some sort of hand-drawn graphics to her images on her carousel posts. So there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can potentially do this in your graphic design program, or some people actually have like a doodle pen on their iPad and a program where they can actually sort of journal on their images. So that's another fun style as well. And another one from this same yoga retreat leader gal, she sells retreats. So she says, pick an emoji and follow the line to find out which retreat you should pack your bags for. And then she's used like a different color line. And then she's promoting her upcoming destinations for her various retreats that she has available for sale. So I thought that was a creative use of a carousel post. Common carousel mistakes to avoid: making your text or your font too small or hard to read, or putting too much text on one slide. So the idea is not just to cram all of the text onto the carousel slides. You can have some text overlay on each carousel slide if you like, but remember, you do still also have the caption, the text caption below the carousel post. If someone's really interested, you can put more detail in that area as well. Next mistake, too many visual elements on one slide or lack of white space or virtual breathing room. I am definitely guilty of that. I like design elements, but sometimes white space is great too. Putting too much info in one carousel post. So again, remember, tell one story, teach one thing, share one idea across many slides. Don't try and teach too much in one carousel post. And a little point here, if you add music on Instagram, I've said use an instrumental song. So again, always exceptions to every rule. So for example, the one that I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, the travel duo, they use that around the world song, a perfect song for just a photo carousel post. But if like me, you're doing a carousel post that's teaching something and you want people to be able to sort of read the text on your slides to absorb what you're teaching them, then sometimes if you add a song that has lyrics, it can be hard for them to focus on the content they're trying to read. So that's my advice to those of us who are using carousel posts to teach something, or say you're even telling a client story or client testimonials. You want them to relax their mind with a nice instrumental song. And you don't want to have a song that has lyrics, vocal lyrics, competing with the information that you have on your slide. So that's what I mean when I say use an instrumental song. So always exceptions to every rule. I'd give you a lot of great examples of using a carousel post to sell stuff, but please do not use it only to sell stuff. So do use carousel post again to educate, to entertain, tell stories, to show that you understand them and that you would be a good person to pick to work with in the future. And then certainly you will do some selling carousel posts, but you want to make sure you mix up, make a variety, and don't make every post promotional or salesy. The next mistake, lack of brand consistency, fonts, elements, or colors, design elements. So that's why I recommend that you do set up a template or two in Canva or whatever graphic design program you like, because then you can have some visual consistency when you do create your carousel posts so that you don't end up with a garage sale of different colors and fonts and different graphic elements that don't look coordinated. And finally, the last mistake, no CTA at the end, no call to action at the end to invite people to take the next step, whether it's follow for more or whether it's, book a call, work with me, email me, whatever that call to action is. Take action. My first tip is going to be, if you have not already, which many business owners have not, create an about you or a welcome post that, when you think about someone who might discover you from one of your posts and come and check out your profile, your account, you want to make a great first impression and you want to have a nice post pinned up to the top to let them know what you're about. What are you about? Why do you do what you do? Who do you serve? How do you serve them, etc. So get a welcome post pinned up to the top of your account. As I mentioned, Instagram has the opportunity for up to 3 pinned posts. Some other channels, have one primary pinned post. So think about that depending on the channels you use. Let me know if you have any questions about any specific channels you use. Be happy to help. Think about past content you can repurpose as carousel posts. So again, I just referenced that the traveling duo, the one that I showed you at the very beginning, they just took photos from past trips, probably that they've already shared, on previous carousel posts on their Instagram account. Or think about the podcast episode. So they're taking content from a podcast interview and repurposing it in ways that turn it into a visual carousel post on their Instagram account. So don't be afraid to repeat ideas, repeat messages, and repeat past photos as well. I have often repeated photos, as do many people. So you don't have to use brand new photos for every single carousel post. Use AI chat tools to brainstorm for ideas for carousel posts, and especially for titles or hooks. That first slide of your carousel post determines whether or not people engage. You want to catch the attention of the right people who will potentially be people who could have interest in your products or services. Your carousel posts do not need to be perfect or beautifully designed. Your design skills will improve over time. What matters most is if your audience feels understood, helped, or moved by what you're sharing, and that it helps people who may have interest in working with you to connect. It's an excellent format to help serve your audience and show them what you sell. Questions? Please comment below this video with any questions you may have about anything from this presentation. I'd be happy to help. I'm Juhli Selby with Sandy Social Marketing Training. I offer private lessons for small business clients who are based in Canada and the US. If you're tired of struggling with social media alone, let's connect. Thanks so much for watching.